Hi, and welcome to the Sagebrush Happy Hour Journal entry for January 31st, 2025. It has been a long month. Anyway, so uh, as in previous episodes, I've mentioned that I'm upgrading my solar system for our power here. And of course, we live off grid. And I want to talk about something in the solar industry that is truly silly. Is that so? There's these all the equipment manufacturers out there for solar equipment. There's some major manufacturers. There's the people that make the solar panels. Then there's the people that make some of this ancillary equipment like charge controllers. And then there's companies that make batteries. And then there's companies that make inverters, which turn that DC electricity from batteries into the power that you can use in your home. And then there's the normal electrical equipment that you would have in your home, like, power meters and load centers and that sort of thing. But so all these things are coming down in price quite a bit. Is you can get an inverter for a lot cheaper than you could 5 years ago, and you can get solar panels a lot cheaper than you could 5 years ago, and you can get batteries a lot cheaper than you could 5 years ago. So that's a great thing. But the one thing with all these different manufacturers is that none of these equipments from different manufacturers communicate with each other. Every single equipment manufacturer seems to have their own communication and monitoring software protocol and hardware, and it's just plain silly. So, for example, the equipment manufacturer of my inverter is Schneider Electric, and they're one of the biggest manufacturers on the planet, and they make some really high quality gear, and they've been making it for a long time. And so that's what my inverter is. However, the inverter, which you may be able to get for $1,200, is kind of a bargain at that price. However, if you want to see what's going on in the inverter or be able to change any of the settings within the inverter via the software settings inside the inverter, you have to buy all this ancillary equipment. And so they have a communication box that is wired through Ethernet and their own proprietary standard called Xanabus. And that can only communicate to a router through Ethernet, unless you want to spend another bunch of money and get their wireless communication box. And it's ridiculously priced. I mean, it's like $600 for the COM box, and $300 for the wireless box, and the same thing with the charge controllers is that you need something called a mate communication box, which is their own protocol, software protocol that doesn't talk with any other protocol, and that the charge controllers themselves maybe cost $300, $400 a piece, but the COM boxes are $300-$400 a piece, and then you have to use that to communicate with just the charge controllers. And like in the solar panels, I have my new solar panel setup has microinverters, and they have their own communication standard and their own communication box, which is another $350. And all of this is ridiculous because none of them speak the same thing until they spit it out to your web browser. And then once it's spit out to your web browser or to your or to their app, then you can kind of access that data and you can amalgamate it in something like Home Assistant, which is my home control software. And so this is kind of just a really weird system. So I got the Snyder box today, and I was hoping that it would tell me at least how much, PV power I was having coming in from the solar arrays, from the charge controllers, how much DC power was coming into the inverter. And actually it doesn't, because the PV power goes into the batteries first and then goes into the inverter. And so the inverter can only read what the batteries are putting out. And it's just plain silly. And the major point of the silliness of it is that the hardware is super cheap. I mean, I can get it's called an ESP32 chip, or that has wireless, Bluetooth, analog communication, it's fully programmable for $16. And you could basically, if you're willing to do the programming, and there are people out there that are hacking these and doing all this programming to get these cheap little ESP chips to read all the solar equipment. And so anyway, this is my gripe for the day. And although I am getting a little bit more information and control over my system, and so that will be a good thing with the solar upgrade. And as you can see, it's nice and sunny today, and there's snow on the ground, so it's very bright. And so that's my daily journal entry for January 31st. Cheers.